Hi, Misha here, and this video has been half a year in the making, but hopefully it's worth it. We're going to talk about the two DMR versions of the Spanish CETME Model L. First up, we have the standard LV, V for visor, or viewfinder scope. This is the version used by the Spanish Army, and we are going to compare and contrast it with the other version, the LV/S, and the S is for SUSAT or suit because it is fitted with the British L12A1 SUSAT or Trilux or suit optic on a different mount. And this version was used by the Spanish Marines, which, part of the Navy type thing. So a different setup, still used as a DMR. And both of these are semi-autos, manufactured by MARCOLMAR, and both are very limited production items. So we're going to compare and contrast them. But first, a little bit of technical spec, and of course, a little bit of history. The Army's LV, their DMR. This has an Enosa 4-power scope. It's on a Stanag mount from the 80s style. Basically, it'll take an HK like Hensoldt type, screws on. And it does have a backup iron sight underneath. Otherwise, it's a standard rifle. The military gun would have had about a 15.4-inch barrel. The civilian gun, to be legal of course, is slightly extended out to 16 inches, capped with a 3-prong flash hider. Some of the Spanish guns had a birdcage. We do have a bayonet lug up here. Let me flip it over so you can see the notch. Front sight. Standard green furniture. This barrel is cold hammer forged, nitride, US made. The standard one that MARCOLMAR ships is just the standard weight, so relatively lightweight. However, for like a $50 upcharge, they would put in a heavy match target style barrel. It's a good barrel. MARCOLMAR, who built these, did a good job. US made receiver. Note the flare on the ejection port. Not only is it cosmetically appealing, it kind of acts as a case deflector and gas deflector as well, because of course this is a roller. Well, I say that, blowback gun. I think my mag is jamming this up because I just stuck a new mag in. There we go. New gun though, so yeah. You get it here raw, guys. Controls, we've already talked about this. It ships with a US 30-round mag. These are very much the Gen 2s. They came out a long time ago. And they will take US mags. But they will also take the original Spanish mags, so I grabbed one of the little 12-rounders. Let's put this in just to show you it fits. Wanted to compare mags real quick. I don't know which pouch my 30-round Spanish mags are in. I do have some, but this cool little 12-rounder will do. Here's the standard, of course, the AR-15 mag. This is the one that they come with. I'm not sure which brand it is. It's US mag. They work fine. Alloy mag. It has the bolt hold open trip, polymer follower, but the Spanish L doesn't have a bolt hold open. So when you look at a Spanish mag, first off, when you pick it up, it's heavier. This is steel body. But you'll notice there's a rib back here, but there's no bolt hold open trip that goes in it. The gun didn't have one, so why? Another thing you'll notice is the floor plate. You can press it in here. It's that different style. Okay. You can just see that there are What Spain did when they made their mags, they essentially copied the FNC mag. It's like this too. It too doesn't have a bolt hold open, and it too has this unique kind of loosely fit bottom, which is easy to take out. You just press in and spring it out. But I don't want to hit J-Row with the spring, unless you want me to hit you with the spring. So I just wanted to point that out, because while it is STANAG mag compatible, the original mags are not really, but no, they're not STANAG. Like if you put one on an AR-15 first, it may not completely fit because it's different. But even if it did, you would not get a bolt hold open. So that's kind of the difference between Generation 1 and 2 and some other things on the CETME-LV. The bayonets these take are also special. They mount similar to a CETME Model C, but they are a different type and unique. And yes, they do have a synthetic green grip. And the thread pattern on the original guns, I forget exactly what it is. I think it's 13 millimeter, but I could be incorrect on that. But it's not standard 1/2x28, at least on the original guns. They're all very unique things. They're very different from, say, an HK-33, but still a roller locked gun. Of course, we do have, like on the standard L, a manual hold open here. Quite easy to use. See? Lock that forward, and if you want to let your bolt go, you just press the other side. Maybe. There we go. Your overcoming bolt spring there. So better than not having anything at all, but not as good as an automatic and modern style. Yeah, just wanted to point out a few of those things. Takedown is pretty standard. Remove push pins, all that good stuff. And with current YouTube, I don't want to do it on camera, but you can check out many other older videos from us or Forgotten Weapons or anyone else to see that, because the insides are pretty cool. With that, let's move on. Yeah, I already had to stop there and take this out because YouTube nowadays. But it will take a Spanish mag. And this being a used one, you see it charges just fine. It's just because this was a new mag in the box, so don't worry, it happens. So, yeah, this is an actual surplus Enosa 4-power sight. MARCOLMAR says they had enough kits with these special mounts and rear sights to do about 140 of these guns. However, these guns did not come with the sights. The sights did come in, but in very small numbers. Luckily, a friend and supporter of the channel let us borrow, unfortunately not buy, the sight set. So we do have the sight to show you, but I just wanted to point out, if you buy one of these, it won't come with the sight, but you will get the mount. And if you can't find the Enosa, you could probably maybe find a Hensoldt. But, as Rob would say, enough with the bullshit talk. How does it shoot? And, well, you're not going to get my opinion on what it seems to look through it, but we'll see what Fox says.
Well, we've got the CETME-LV first shots. CETME-LV.
Hey, J-Row.
Very smooth.
So what do you think of that scope?
I really like the scope. I like the sight picture of it because you're actually looking at the tip of the, I don't know what you would call that.
It's co-witnessed with the irons.
Yeah, co-witnesses with the irons. I like how it gives you enough, you got enough room in there to where you don't have to really suck up to it. You can kind of let back and relax. But yeah, no, I think it's great.
There you go, guys. It's a relatively small and light optic for being a 4-power, quite durable. And I wanted to show you the mount. This kind of dovetails in, screw in front, screw in the back. They have a washer. You just dog them down. There you go. Now that's the day optic. But as anyone knows, Enosa also made a 4-power night optic. And wouldn't it be cool if we had one of those to show you? Well, we do. Let's open this up and check it out. Yeah. So yeah, this case actually, hey, holds the day optic as well that's in here. So it is really a set. You have some tools, including wrenches to tighten it down. And cover. And then our night optics in this case we're about to look at. We have paperwork. Pretty neat kit. It's really a shame that so few of these came in, but really is great that a friend let us borrow this. Unfortunately, we ended up borrowing it for several months because this video took longer than expected. So his patience is much appreciated. Comes in this neat little zipper bag within this very handy case. Let's see what we got in here, guys. I think I just actually zipped it back up. See if there's any pockets to note. No, just a padded case, really. And here we go. Not quite as small as the day sight. This is a Generation 2 night vision. So, not quite as absurd as the one we've looked at on the AKML, but still pretty funny. One really neat thing is it takes AA batteries. 2 here and 2 here. Even cooler, while it's probably a good idea to have 4 in here, it'll actually just operate with only 2, just not as long. So that's a really neat feature. And of course it attaches 2 screws just like our day sight. So let's put it on the gun. This rifle just got a lot heavier. And as Jared was pointing out, it is chunky, but if you were to look at a Gen 1, this is actually slim. Just for YouTube's sake, this is not a thermal. I know they have certain things against those on here now, so just wanted to point that out. Not a thermal sight. But it is a historic night vision sight. And this is actually what's really caused this video to get delayed. We wanted to try it out at night, and literally every time I brought it down to Fox's place, it would rain at night. It got to the point it was kind of comical. So we're going to do what we can with it, and if we can, we'll try to get a camera shot down the optic for you to see it. If not, you might just see nighttime with muzzle flashes. Either way, we'll get Fox's opinion on what it's like to try to use this optic and just have some fun at night. How about that? So here's where we recorded at night, just with the camera, and now through the night vision optic and through the scope, fridge, window, sink. Yeah, I can only imagine what you're seeing or probably not seeing. And now outside, if you couldn't tell by the noise. Of course, a lot more ambient light out here. Hopefully you're getting some from this. At least the camera kind of fits up against it pretty good. It's supposed to be about 38 degrees out tonight, but it's actually warmer than I think they were predicting, which is good. Although my hand is getting tired of holding this optic. Lightweight? It is not. Hey, look at some ground. Well, it gives you an idea anyway, I hope. Well, we spent time with the Army's LV and MARCOLMAR's take on it. This one, though, came out a little later, and they're actually producing 150 of these, so 10 more. But what's kind of more interesting, it comes with the correct optic, which is probably good because there's no rear sight at all, although there's still a vestigial front sight. So spec-wise, pretty much the same. 16-inch cold hammer forged nitride barrel. This is a medium heavy profile, while out here it's essentially the same diameter. It's slightly heavier under the handguard, but it's not the heavy profile that's optional on the LV. And as far as I know, all of these come with green furniture. And everything is the same aside from having this L85 SA80 rail welded on top, which is an original part. And the Marines would actually bring these over from the UK so they could mount the Trilux scope. And this is nominally a day and night scope because originally it would have had tritium in it. Obviously it's not a night sight, but it had illumination, but of course tritium is long dead, so today it's effectively a day scope only. But yeah, these were used by these Marine Special Forces, actually a very highly regarded unit worldwide, so there's quite a bit in history behind these. And while it's maybe a little bit thicker than the Enosa optic, it's quite a bit more compact, and since it's not sitting on a raised rail, it is a little bit lower into the ground. Otherwise, it's the same. No special triggers in any of these, just regular CETME triggers, although the MARCOLMAR trigger is not bad at all. But that's about all I can tell you. Let's go to the range and see what it's like to shoot through this guy. CETME-LV. Click. No feed. Oh, mag didn't go the way. That'll do it, guys.
So that's staying in.
I definitely clicked there. Still recording?
Yep.
Feels like a sewing machine.
It's ready. CETME-LV. Wow, I've got to say, that runs like a typewriter. CETME-LV. See how
LVS.
LVS. See how accurate this scope is.
You'll have to forgive J-Ro and Fox there for kind of getting confused. It would seem like there's a co-witness, but it's because of the way this comes down, the kind of dagger style inverted crosshair inside. There are backup iron sights on top. Nothing fancy, just a fixed rear peep and a fixed front notch. That's part of the sight, of course. Kind of reminds me of this Steyr AUG, and it was from that kind of same era, 70s, 80s. And as you saw, at least initial impressions seem good. So let's ask Fox, the first day there, which optic he preferred. Was it the British SUSAT or the 4-power Enosa? So you've run 2 mags through the LV and LVS, both with their 4-power optics. Any thoughts comparing them?
I do like the LVS a little more, only because I like that optic, kind of like that dagger look. Seems to be out there on the front post. It was a little easier to keep on target. However, they both run extremely smooth, seem to be extremely reliable right out of the box, and I definitely want to shoot them more.
All right, we'll probably get some up close down scope looks.
Perfect.
Plus, it's getting dark.
It's about
We
to
might
start
have
raining.
some night vision for you soon. Now let's get up close with the LVS. Unfortunately, not as much fun to kind of look at the extra stuff it comes with, but at least it does come with the gun and not separate. You have a multi-tool here that actually fits our suit optic. A wrench tool. Kind of interesting how they made this to fit, welding the rail on and whatnot, but it works. Funny enough, it comes in like a little mailer bag, little stickum, and then it also has a styrofoam old school styrofoam box. Kind of reminds me of what floats and things used to be made out of. 2-piece. I guess for a collector it's kind of neat to have. It's worth pointing out that when they ship this, the optic's already on the gun from MARCOLMAR, and this box is actually in 2 pieces in the box, in the case rather, so that it will fit. Again, just I guess nice they give it to you. Why not? And just a quick flip over. Why not? As I said, the optic does sit a little lower. It is a heavier gun. Part of it's the barrel. Part of it's just the optic and rail. But to me, there's something kind of strangely interesting and attractive about it. So, there you have it. So that was day 1, but wanted to get more time. Let's see what second impressions, and then we'll kind of end back here with what my limited thoughts and experiences are. Obviously, when we're talking about DMRs and scopes, Misha's not going to be able to give you a whole lot, but you know, I'll tell you what I think. But first, let's go to range visit number 2, and we'll end it back here with me. All right, Fox with the LV with the day scope.
Take 2.
That's staying in. Trying with the LV again. Alright, so it's been 6 months. What do you think of the optic?
It takes a little bit getting used to. You don't have a very good, a very big sight window, so you really got to kind of find your eye placement. But once you do that, it's pretty impressive. The gun's actually a little more enjoyable to shoot than looking through that optic. I find just a simple red dot or something would be a little more sufficient for my style.
Yeah, simple red dots in the 1980s were
yeah, they didn't exist.
rather large if they existed at all.
Yeah, for its age, it is very good.
LV with the day Enosa one more time. Aside from the paperwork manuals, here are the accessories from the kit laid out. We have this pouch, which is actually a Velcro, and in it were all these tools. Give you a nice big toothbrush and regular brush. We have a shortened wrench to get it on the gun to get underneath, and a standard size one. A Phillips head screwdriver, kind of unique. And then we have these cloth things. That's all in this pouch here. Separately, we have a bag of extra screws and washers. There's also a rubber hose. I do not know. What is that for? Of course, here's the day optic we've looked through, and its cap. Now our night optic off the gun. It's got a plate on top, and it has two different covers. Wow. And that's it, folks. Very interesting. Both have the rubber eye cup. Surprisingly, still quite supple. Screw for each of the mounts. Very 80s. That's not a condemnation. It just, it is very much of its place in time. But I wanted to spread it out and kind of just show you what was in that rather heavy case. So aside from us learning that it doesn't like HK mags, any second thoughts?
Dude, this gun is, for its age and its weight ratio, you would expect a little bit more recoil from this, but I gotta say, each time I've been around you and picked up one of these CETMEs, the more I get impressed with them. I mean, I really do. They're not really my style, but this is one gun you've introduced to me that I has really grown to like.
I'm not sure they're anyone's style, yet they are strangely attractive.
They are. It's got the HK look, it's got the old school military. And even if you're a tactical junkie, it's just appeasing. But shooting it is even better. I mean, the minimal recoil, and yeah, it just feels good.
Apologies if it's a bit dim or strange here. We're traveling. Wanted to focus in on the optic. I know I always call it a suit. I think that's just a side effect of my FAL days, because originally the L2A2 suit was the scope that was optionally used on the L1A1, the SLR, the self-loading rifle. And it was designed not as a sniper, really even as a DMR, but something that could be produced economically for the everyday infantryman. Well, in the 70s, work began on its successor, which is the SUSAT here, the Sight Unit Small Arms Trilux, originally developed in England, the UK, by United Scientific Instruments, today Thales Optics. You might say Thales, but I think it's Thales, only because my speech program is British and it says Thales, so I'm going to count it as an expert. This is a 4-power optic with tritium for low light. It's not really a night sight. It's more of a low light sight, you know, dawn, dusk, that kind of situation. The tritium is rated for 8 to 12 years. Some sources say 8 to 10 before it needs replacing. It is designed to be replaceable. We have a rubber eyepiece here. We have a kind of slanted hood here. This unit is actually made from a single piece die cast structure made of aluminum alloy, and it's actually positionable on the rail. This is the L9A1. It's intended for 100 to 600 meter use. There's also a longer range version typically used on machine guns, the L12A1. It's from 300 to 800 meters. And just like the SUSAT is not really meant as a sniper optic. It's meant for more everyday use. And it's the standard, at least one of the standard optics on the L85A1, as well as the L108 and L10. It has been replaced by the ACOG and Elkin, but there are still several in service in Britain, even today. But it, of course, also was sold abroad to Sweden and Spain here. In Spain, this was a pretty unique optic device. As we've already talked about, the Enosa was the standard for the LV used primarily by the Army. But the Marines imported these from Britain, and a handful also found their way into the Army, but by and large, the LVS was for the Spanish Marines here. It does have a relatively low profile, and it does have built-in backup iron sights here. Very simple, but effective in case the scope goes down. And in a lot of ways, it's an interesting sight. Really, the suit and SUSAT are very similar. One was meant for 7.62 NATO intentionally. The other one was more 5.56. They both have the so-called German-style post inside, or obelisk if you prefer. The original suit actually comes down from the top. The SUSAT actually comes up from the bottom. But either way, they're meant to occlude things really close in and give more range, distance firing. They're also quite easy to remove and adjust, which is worth pointing out. So, second range trip with the CETME-LVS with the SUSAT, or the suit as I always keep calling it.
SUSAT.
4-power optic.
Perfect.
LVS again.
Golly, this thing shoots so smooth, man.
Okay, I know the LV with the Enosa was a couple of weeks ago, but if you can remember, how do you compare that to this optic?
I like this optic a little more. As you can tell, I was ringing a lot of steel, really consistent, and a lot of that has to do with such minimal recoil and muzzle spray or even rise of that barrel. But I do like this optic just a little more. It's kind of got that ACOG vibe look to it, and I like the point, how you can actually see your front post or sight out here.
Anything else you can think of?
Man, it's really a joy to shoot. Well, I think once you got used to this trigger, it's got such a HK old school trigger feel to it.
Oh yeah, it's not a match trigger.
No, it was kind of hard for me. It wasn't the gun going up and down, it was actually the trigger pull that was causing me to lose a little bit of focus. But no, I do like this.
Understandable. All right, back here and pulling off the optic and setting it aside for a minute. Here's the bare bones MARCOLMAR LVS variant. It's very standard in a lot of ways. Whereas the standard L and even the LC could be had in the traditional green or all black, FDE, gray. Even the LV was in a few different variations. The LVS is just this one version. It's going to be green, and it's considered a limited edition, a limited run gun. Some have said 130 were going to be built. I've also read up to 150. Either way, quite a small number. It has a medium profile barrel. It's especially thicker under the handguard. Of course, it's 16 inches to comply with laws. The original gun would have been 15.4, give or take. It is a cold hammer forged barrel, 1-in-7 twist, although it is nitrided, not chrome lined. Again, this is the MARCOLMAR barrel, not the original. It does have a standard bayonet lug up front, and it does have a standard front sight, but there is no rear sight, unlike the LV. Instead, we just have this welded rail. It's actually quite similar to the Picatinny rail, well, the way it's railed it on, there you go. But it's further back, and allows for that. Of course, it still allows for the bolt hold open device here, back here, everything else. So basically we get a heavier barrel, a standard all green finish, and we have this special rail in the back. And yes, they do come with the Optic in its box, and these are authentic British SUSAT thals produced units. So pretty neat. They're in surplus condition, but I'm sure MARCOLMAR checks them and makes sure they're serviceable, because that's kind of the whole point of this package. These were first announced in 2020, and it seems like the production run was underway by 2021, and I don't know if any more will be built. This gun came as the major kind of run or part, so it seems like they kind of just did one big or maybe two big production runs of these. Reseating the Optic could not be easier. There's just a plunger here, and then it will seat in its little groove, if I can do it here. And this actually can fold out of the way, and then of course you just tighten down the thumb screws on the other side, and you can move it to the front or rear of the rail. Looks roughly an inch movement. I kind of think it's interesting. And I think the Spanish Navy connection, the Spanish Marine connection is quite interesting. And this was always a special forces, special applications gun. Even though this Optic was not really intended for snipers or even necessarily DMRs, that's effectively how Spain, even Sweden, employed it for, 100 to 500, maybe 600 meters maximum, which is kind of getting out there about as far as you can go for a 5.56 projectile out of a 15 and some change inch barrel. But it was also an economical option, and one that didn't actually weigh a whole lot. This weighs under right about a pound, maybe slightly more, but slightly under half a kilo. So yeah, with that, we will move right along. LVS, and fuck, I knew with the Optic. Helps if I charge it though. I thought I did. Oh my god.
Okay, so
okay.
Misha just pulled the fox.
Me.
Misha pulled the fox.
Something. LVS, and fuck any with the Optic. Also, mags. I got this hold open here. Yep. Pretty cool. I was curious if you can actually sight even close range without the Optic on, so we're gonna try it out.
Did you hear still?
I did.
Yeah, we rang it a few times, so pretty
So
small.
do you think in an emergency, if the optic went down, you could use that as a de facto?
No doubt. I was shooting, yeah, definitely.
Close range?
Yep.
Okay, maybe that's why they left the front side on. So we were talking as we were putting the optic back on the LVS, and you were pointing out a couple of things you thought were interesting.
Well, I thought it was cool because once you told me how much this does predate, like say the ACOG or by all means any hollow sun.
Yeah, they started making it in the late 70s, and it was in service, 85, 86.
Right. So with that being said, I thought it was really neat how all you have to do is twist these knobs and you push this little spring up and you can slide this dude on and off. And for YouTube's sake, we won't do that. But yeah, I'm really impressed with that technology back then, how easy this is to remove and install.
Yeah, and I like how you can kind of set it within a small range, but kind of eye relief based on probably the gun it's on and also the person, their eyesight.
For sure.
Maybe they're wearing goggles.
Yeah, especially for the night vision capabilities because it does raise up. But also for my face, I need to have it all the way out. But yeah, I thought that was cool.
And we do know because of the LV that Spain was using night vision by this point.
Absolutely. That's a LV 01599.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this. The history, I mean, these are any of the three optics we've looked at. They're dated, obviously, but historically very cool. I do think Generation 2 night vision, it's an interesting thing. We looked at the AKML Generation 1, and of course it was wet cell. I think it's super neat that this takes standard batteries. And while it is heavy, no argument about that, it's lighter than previous generations, more durable, more effective, and it does come with a really cool, very durable case. In fact, the case is so durable, theoretically, you could use it as a step stool. Not that I've ever done that when it was sitting in the gun room. But, and then coming in this pouch, what did I put it in? I think I moved it over. Oh well. The gun itself is a little bit lighter because of the standard weight barrel. And I don't believe that they're making more LVs now. Either way, the kits were very limited. Then we have the LVS. First off, this comes with the optic. That's pretty cool. Not a whole lot of extras in the case. These still come in the soft tactical cases. It does have a foam two-piece box that this would have gone in, but it actually comes pre-mounted to the gun. And it has a couple of sight tools, but otherwise no real cool swag. It's a lighter profile, at least with the day versus the night. This heavier barrel, it's not bad. It kind of gives it a little bit better balance up front, kind of counteracting the optic. Now, people have asked me, can they mount other things on here? Maybe theoretically, but the truth is, if you're gonna buy one of these, you should buy it because you want the suit scope, the Trilux. Otherwise, just get the version of the CETME-L with the standard modern 1913 Picatinny rail, because otherwise the guns are pretty well the same. You do have a few more scope options with the LV, but since it doesn't come with anything, unless you already own a Enosa or a Hensoldt, you might find an optic that mounts on this. You might not. Again, it's nominally STANAG compatible of that era, but limited. It's just held on by 2 screws. They do have little washers that kind of help you dog them down. I mean, it's secure. Both rails are welded to the receiver top and very nicely done. They use robot welding. It's typical MARCOLMAR quality. So for me, I do like the suit version more. I like that it sits a little lower. I think it's a little interesting that they left the front side on, but I'm sure that's just because using the same parts. And while the barrel, the receiver, and other things are American made, MARCOLMAR was very faithful to the original. And we've done tons of videos looking at their standard L, their LC, all great guns. And maybe that's just because growing up, this was even though we knew that CETME Model L was not a good gun, it was still one of those unobtainable guns. And for a long time, the HMG was about the only option, and they weren't terrible. In fact, in some ways, they're more authentic. The MARCOLMAR is decidedly better, though. So I think we've kind of decided we like the Trilux setup more, but the Enosa is pretty neat. I think the night vision is kind of what sets this apart, and hope it was worth it to you. And these are perfectly good when it comes to the accuracy front. 5.56, 223, cold hammer forged barrels, 1-in-7 twist. They're going to do what you need them to do. They're going to be as good as anything else. But by the way, these have fluted chambers. I think if there's anything else I want to add, but not really. But sorry this video took so long. Sorry I had my friends Enosa for so long. This did not come from a company. No, it came from a friend. So no T&E freebies here. But glad we were able to share this with you. These were only used for relatively brief time in the Army or Navy from the late 80s through the early 2000s, with their biggest kind of debut being in the original Desert Storm, the first Gulf War in 1991. They would be used by some Spanish forces in various NATO operations in Eastern Europe in 1999 and whatnot. And maybe some were used early on in the so-called War on Terror, 2001, 2002. But they were being phased out in favor of the Heckler & Koch G36E, which we've done several videos on, including one quite recently. So check that out too. But if you own an LV or an LVS, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, which one you like better, or if you've got the LV, which optic you're running, and just kind of talk about these pretty cool variants. They're not for everyone. They're definitely for the Cold War 80s collector, but definitely cool, even to me who can't even use the optics. So with that, appreciate you tuning in. If you could, please like, share, subscribe, you know, the usual drill. And if you'd like to help support the channel so we can get out at night more often, check out the link to the Patreon page. This is Misha, also on behalf of Fox and Jero. We'll all catch you very soon next time.